This is the iPhone 13 Pro, a fantastic £1,000 smartphone. £1,000, wow. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why I've decided to return it. Let's get into it. So before we get into why I've decided to return this, let me give you a bit of background, right? I've owned a lot of iPhones, like most people, right? Over the last few years, the 10, the XS Max, the 11 Pro, the 12 Mini, and now the 13 Pro or the 13 Mini, right? So it gives you an idea of how locked into the system I am. Totally locked in. So I was always going to buy one, right? But why am I returning the Pro? I really wanted to like it. When it came out, there are three standout things that most reviewers out there are talking about, and including me. I really like the camera. I like the ProMotion, the 120Hz smooth scrolling that you get on the iPad Pro models, and the battery life, right? So let's look into the good things that this phone provides before I tell you the fundamental reasons why I'm returning it. The first thing you'll notice about the cameras on this phone is how big they are, right? How gigantic they are. I mean, Jesus, it's such a big module, and I don't think the actual camera itself or, you know, the sensors have increased that much in size, but, you know, they're clearly going for a look. They're trying to make you think that this camera actually is so much better than the last generation, where the actual lenses aren't so big or thick. So yeah, that's the first thing you notice when you hold this phone, is how thick the cameras are. But apart from the size, right, they're clearly there to do a good job. And for this, I've taken it to the Scottish Highlands. I'm going to show you some photos, and you can decide for yourself what you make of the quality of the photos. iPhones have always taken good photos. I mean, I can take an iPhone 8 to the Scottish Highlands and it's still going to look pretty. Two reasons for that. One is the Highlands are really pretty, and two, I'm a good photographer, I like to think. So yeah, the photos are really good, crisp, detailed, even in low light to a certain situation. You know, when it's just dawn, no sun, it looks good. The close-ups, telephoto lens, really impressive. But if you were to ask me, hey Sohail, here's your 12 Pro, can you notice a significant difference? Maybe, right? To my naked eye, you know, it's okay. It's visible, but, you know, when you put it out into a photo frame, it's going to look okay. It's going to look the same. So if you're coming from quite an older generation phone, you're going to notice the difference. But the last 4 or 5 models of iPhones have produced some really good, detailed, quality images. That's not to downplay how good this camera actually is. It's good. But if you're one of these people who uses their phones as their primary camera, then every little counts. And I think that's why, for most people, I think it's okay. But for those who are looking to eke out that extra little bit, sure. So that's the camera, right? Photos look great, as they always have done. This brings us to the second thing which people are raving about, and everyone has put this in their pro columns for the iPhone 13 Pro, which is why I wanted to get this, right? The ProMotion. The 120Hz smooth scrolling that you get on the iPad Pro is now on the iPhone. A year late, but it's here. Nonetheless, it's really good, right? And I think it's more visible because you use your phone more than you use your iPad. At least I do anyway, right? And when I use my iPad, I'm not scrolling on Twitter as much as I am on my iPhone. and it's so much smoother, right? Opening, closing apps, it all feels really good. Now, can you notice the difference? There are a lot of videos out there already that kind of go through what a normal person would look at those two phones next to each other and whether they're able to tell the difference. I think, yes, you will. I think that the longer you use this phone, the better your eyes will get in terms of adjusting to the Pro Motion. And then when you move back to an iPhone 12 or something, you'll be like, whoa, this is a bit jerky, right? That's what's happened to me over the last week. I've used the Pro and I'm like, wow, this is great. And I look at the iPhone 12 and I'm like, oh, it's janky, right? It's not quite, I'm exaggerating. But if you use this phone, you will most definitely appreciate the Pro Motion. So that's the second thing, right? The third and final thing is the battery life, right? The iPhone Pro 13 Pro has incredible battery life, more so than the last generation model because it's thicker and they've decided to put a fatter battery in there, obviously because it's slightly thicker, which is great. Now, a lot of people have put this in their Pro column and I would too, but my life has changed and I think so has yours over the last year and a half. Because of COVID, we don't tend to travel out. All-day trips are slightly, less occasional. And if I go from point A to point B, both of those points have a charger. So for me, battery life being incredible isn't such a big pro like it is for some people. And I'm not saying that I don't like it. I took it to the Scottish Highlands and went on a long walk, took both of these phones, the Mini and the Pro, took a lot of photos, took a lot of videos. And by the end of it, they both had battery life. It wasn't like the other one died. Sure, the Mini had less battery in it, but it was a 6-hour walk. We got there, we got back, and at the end of the point B, in this case, the hotel, Airbnb, I had a charger. So I think putting a lot of emphasis on battery life is maybe not quite a good thing in this day and age. But nonetheless, this phone has a good battery. Right, I know what you're thinking. You must be thinking, hey, this person said he's returning this phone, but all he's done is said how good this phone is. Well, yes, I'll get to that, but this is a really good phone. If you're thinking of getting a phone, if you're thinking of getting the Pro, then you won't be disappointed. It's got a great camera, a great battery life, and a Pro Motion screen, which, makes it look really buttery smooth, right? But aside from all of that, the one reason why I really wanted to love this phone, which is why I have it in my hand, right? I bought this with my own money, and I wanted to keep it. But the reason I'm not keeping it is the size, right? This is a fabulous phone, but it just doesn't feel as good in my hands as the Mini. Right, I have been given slightly smaller hands. You'd say everyone on YouTube seems to have gigantic hands and they feel the need to say that the 13 Pro is the perfect phone for their hands. And when you have small hands, things just look massive in them, which sometimes can be a good thing. But, it just doesn't feel right. If you compare this iPhone 13 to the XS Max, which is a phone that I have, it's marginally smaller, right? And even though it's marginally smaller, because of the squared off lining that it has, because of its shape, it feels just as big as the XS Max because it's slightly curved, right? So it doesn't feel right in my hands. And my gut feeling was that, hey, this phone, as much as I love it, I can't get on with it. And the problem that I've had is I've been used to the 12 Mini, which has been so good in my hands. So there you have it. The only reason that I'm returning the iPhone Pro. And if you're one of these people, which you're likely to be, who has small hands, then I really recommend you go and try out these phones in the Apple Store or your local mobile phone provider, because you really want to feel the difference in size, right? The 13 Pro is huge. I can't imagine how big the 13 Pro Max is. I've held the 12 Pro Max and God, it's massive, right? The iPhone Mini has put me off of a lot of these big phones. And that's what's happened. My gut feeling as soon as I picked this phone up was that it's too big. Now, am I going to regret not having ProMotion? Yes. Regret not having that telephoto lens? Maybe, yes. The battery life? Definitely not. Don't care about it for the reasons I've stated already. So, as a whole, the only thing I'm missing out on is nothing. So there you have it. That was me, my short, sweet review of the iPhone 13 Pro, which is fantastic, but I'm returning it. See you in the next one.